Hello and welcome to Nicu&You. I'm Belle Stevenson and this is a podcast where we're making sense of the NICU journey, one conversation at a time. Today's episode is part of our ongoing conversation around perinatal mental health, the lived experiences, the support, education and shared understanding, and I'm really grateful you're here with us today. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe as this helps us reach and support more parents on their NICU journeys. Also, a quick thank you to our sponsors Solento and Meritcom in Strabane. Both support Nicu&You and have been great supporters of the One Day at a Time project from the very beginning. You can find out more at nicu&you.co.uk. Today's guests are Ciara O'Gowan and Leonard from Support Together, an award-winning charity organisation based in Omagh, County Tyrone, here in Northern Ireland. Both women have experienced significant mental health struggles during the perinatal period. Ciara is a mum of 2 boys and a girl and will share her personal journey first of all. Her personal journey will be shared through her pregnancy complications, neonatal challenges and mental health difficulties. And it was during her second pregnancy that she discovered the help of Support Together, an organisation co-founded after Una's own personal experiences with her mental health. Together, they will then discuss how Support Together was born and how it continues to make a difference by saving lives and protecting families in the wider community. Ciara and Una, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here today. So Ciara, we'll start with you then. So if you just tell us a little bit about your family and about your pregnancies.
Thank you so much, Belle, for inviting us on. My name is Ciara. I am a mum of 3. I always say a mum of 4 if you include my husband because he's the biggest child of the whole lot. I've got 2 boys, Jude and Anda, and a wee girl, she's called Orla. So before I had Jude, my very first, I had a miscarriage. And that's a significant part of my journey because I carried that miscarriage and that baby with me I still carry it with me. It's still there. Jude was being pregnant and having a baby was all I ever dreamed of. I was in my mind I was putting this earth to be a mummy. I was always the person in the room with a child in each hip. Babysat for the country. That was Ciara's job. So finding out I was pregnant, after having the miscarriage was heartwarming. But actually so scary. I worried throughout the full 9 months that this was going to happen again, that I was going to end up going back through the loss and the heartache and the pain. And I suppose a big part of that there that I've learned now is that my miscarriage was never actually acknowledged.
Right.
It was always the power 1 + 1, but the +1 was never discussed.
Never
It was
addressed.
never addressed. It was always like a taboo subject. So I felt that whenever nobody else addressed it, I couldn't address it. I couldn't speak about it, but it was always there. It was a massive part of my heart. So Jude was due at the start of March, and he's actually coming up now to his 12th birthday. He made his appearance on St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
A day that he does not like at the moment because there's never a friend near him to play or to enjoy his birthday. But I've said in years to come he will thank me for having a St. Patrick's Day birthday. So whenever Jude was born, we were in the hospital, and I remember. It's bad that I still remember every minute of it.
The trauma.
As if it was yesterday.
Mm.
Very long labour. At the end of it, Jude, whenever he was born, 8:32 p.m. at night time, he couldn't keep his temperature up. He couldn't keep his temperature up, and I couldn't keep my temperature down.
Okay.
So he was put into a wee incubator, and they were keeping an eye on him, and supposedly didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
When he was about 12 hours old, I remember the doctor coming in and saying, "We think your baby's not well, and we're going to take him away for some tests."
Right.
And of course, you're the first time mum in the hospital by yourself at the stage. Emma, my husband, hadn't got back down the length of the hospital. So it was before 12 o'clock the next day, and they had said, we're going to take him away. And I was like, right, okay, so where do we go? And they're like, no, you can't come with us. And they explained to me they were going to be doing a lumbar puncture on Jude because they thought he had meningitis. I myself had strep B I was tested for strep B at 36 weeks, and the strep B came back negative at that time. But by the time he made his appearance at nearly 42 weeks, the strep B was back, and I hadn't got the antibiotics for it. So when he was born, he had the strep B. So they took him away to neonatal, and he went through the procedure, and it seemed like hours, Belle, hours and hours and hours before anybody came back near me to say it's done and you can go down and see him. Now may I add that this baby was £8.15. He was a brute. And when you go down to the neonatal and you see the rest of the babies, these wee tiny toty wee things, and then this lord lying up.
So he was full term.
He was full term, but he was very, very unwell. And they had come back then to say, yes, we've done the lumbar puncture. The results have come back to say that the levels are ris. So they started him on whatever antibiotics that needed to be started on. And that they were going to be keeping a tight eye on him. And they did say, you have a very, very unwell son. And we were keeping a very tight eye on him. It was only me. Sorry.
You're all right.
Only me and his daddy was allowed down.
When did you first see Jude, Ciara? Was it like at the birth, or did you know when?
Whenever he was born, he was put straight up onto my chest, and then he was moved over to Eamon because I had a drip in my arm, and the drip kept beeping, so they moved him over then to his daddy.
And what was your emotions at that time? Whenever you got to see Jude,
Absolute relief that it was over.
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself, I'm superwoman that this wean is out, thank God. And then we knew it was a wee boy, so we knew what we were having, and we knew he was going to be called Jude. That was all already picked.
But then when they said, "Gee, they had to take him away," what can you explain how you felt at that very moment?
I sat and cried and cried and cried and cried. Cried that much that they had to move me to a side ward because apparently I was annoying the rest of the mummies in the ward.
Right.
But when you're sitting there in a ward and you haven't got your baby and everybody else has got theirs, that is heart-wrenching.
It is.
And like this is what you're here for.
Yeah.
And he's away in a ward and I wasn't fit to get down near him. I had stitches and had been through a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
Jude's birth was difficult. It was forceps, so you can imagine the pain.
A lot of trauma.
So he was taken away before 12 o'clock, and it was later on that evening. I'd say it was after 6 before we were allowed back down to see him. Yeah.
What was it like then, walking in? Or you weren't walked in, I take it, you were wheeled in?
Wheeled in, and I can still hear the beeping of the machines. I can still see all the tubes. Like, he had no breathing. He had a wee oxygen thing in his nose, no breathing thing in his mouth, but he had stuff on his feet, he had stuff on his hands, and you could see the wee tiny hands and these big massive boards to trying to keep keep everything in. Yes. And like you just think to yourself, the poor wee, and then they had said, he's went through a lot today, and he did. And I know now because my Eamon had to go through a lumbar puncture, and I can imagine that there in a baby.
Yeah.
It would have been horrendous to see. So I'm glad they didn't take me down. I wasn't allowed to be there for it, but at the same time, he's mine. I wanted to be really there doing. Yeah.
So what's the equipment then? The monitors, the wires, the tubes, the drips, all that stuff. Did anybody explain what exactly those were for?
They just said that they were keeping an eye on his temperature, that he was guzzling down his bottles, but had to be wakened for it. That was the thing. He wasn't keeping his temperature up, and he was sleeping too long. This was apparently one of the signs of being unwell. Plus, then the levels were very, very ris. I remember the nurses. I don't know if there was much explanation, but I remember them kind of trying to make light and saying, the size of this boy, and he's in here, and and you are looking around thinking to yourself, well, God love them. Their wee babies are very, very small, and they must be very early. And there was a set of twins in as well. But all I could think about was, you shouldn't be in here. We should be heading home. Like, everything's ready for you at home.
And you do see a lot of full-term babies unwell.
But I wasn't expect. I thought whenever we get the full term, and now you're overcooked, you should be all right and be able to come home. They had said this boy snuck his way in here. He snuck his way in to get to get all the nurses' cuddles. We weren't allowed to cuddle him because he's that much stuff.
Right. And then you're working through an incubator. How was that?
Trying to get your hand in. And then do you want to change the nappy? Well, how under God? It was going to be hard enough to put there anyway. Never mind trying to get your hand in and then wee holes. No, it kind of. Them first couple of days were robbed off you because you weren't fit to do that there. The there's a picture beside my bed at home of me whenever he eventually finally got out of that incubator and then into the wee cots when you're moved out of
Yes. Uh-huh.
the big serious room into
Yes.
the side
Special
room.
care.
So there's a picture there where I was able to hold him, and my face, I'm smiling, but I know that there's
You're still.
yeah.
It's kind of like you're crossing over to another level of, oh, is this it? We're going to get home.
Or what's going to happen? Yeah, we're still keeping an eye on his temperature. He's not out of the woods yet. We have to do some more tests, and we'll see how things are. And you know that how unwell your wee boy was. And I was like, I know, and I just want to get him home.
Yeah. Who would have been your greatest support at the time? To keep your spirits up.
Probably Eamon, and at the same time, I know that inside he hadn't a clue.
Yeah, because it's difficult.
It is, yeah.
Isn't it?
And he was trying to keep a brave face on. I know he was praying to the country. There wasn't a prayer that wasn't said. There were so many people, yes, that sent messages, and because I'm not close to home, so having visitors, like they were like, I suppose it kind of sometimes hold us against my own people. There was no point coming down to see me in the hospital because they wouldn't get to see the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very long, lonely week. Now, he was in the neonatal for a week, and I know there's babies in the neonatal for a lot longer. It was a very long, lonely week, just me and Eamon.
Mm-hmm.
And then going back, then you're leaving the neonatal to go back to your own room by yourself.
Yeah. And then you were in a side ward, so you really were isolated.
I totally was so isolated. I remember Eamon leaving at night and me just sitting crying. I cried myself to sleep, and we woke up in the morning, and you cried yourself until they were able to come in, and you got to go ahead. You can go back down to the neonatal to see him the next day.
And any mental health support in the hospital while you went through that?
Not at the time. And I suppose I'll explain then the aftermath of Jude. We got Jude home, and the relief of getting Jude home. But I remember that car journey home and thinking, right, so they've sent me home, and they're saying, right, so if you're worried about his temperature, just check his chest. Don't be going in with a thermometer. And all I can think about was I'll be checking your temperature every hour to make sure that you're all right. But no, just remember, if you're worried about him, just feel his chest and see how warm he is. And the car journey home, Eamon must have asked me 10 times. He kept looking in the mirror and looking in the back seat and saying, "You all right, mummy?" And because he calls me mummy and I call him daddy, that's the way and we were new mummies and daddies at that stage. And so the whole way from Altlegelvin, we were coming through Strabane. I'll never forget coming past that roundabout at Asda, and he said it again. And I thought, if he asked me one more time, I'm going to scream. Because already, I know now, postnatal was in the back of the car along with me. The anxiety and the worries and the fears that I carried into that pregnancy and into that birth and afterwards from the miscarriage.
Yeah. Trauma was still there.
The trauma was still there. The trauma hadn't been addressed.
No.
And then I had on top of that then the trauma of the birth. So there was no real mental health support for me at that stage. You can I be grateful that your child's getting to leave and he's okay, and we'll keep an eye.
Do you think it would have made a difference if some kind of program was kind of intervened in there at that time of the delivery to help you through the trauma of delivery?
Oh, 100%, because
levels of trauma.
100%, because I carried that trauma right through my second and third. Maybe not so much my third, because at that stage I had myself educated, but definitely carried it into my second pregnancy and labour.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't addressed, because it was sat there and it hadn't been spoke about, and I had a lot of what ifs. What if it happens again? So the week, if I think about what I did for the first year of Jude's birth, and we're coming up now to Jude's 12th birthday, for that first year, I relived that week every week. And I would have said, well, this time 2 weeks ago, we were in the labour ward. This time 4 weeks ago, I was reliving the full week. And like every Monday night, I would have said to him, happy 12-week birthday to Jude. But I got to 52 weeks on the day of his birthday, and I remember turning around to Eamon and saying, I can't do this anymore. We can't do it, because I'm reliving the trauma every single week. And I'd went to the doctor at 6 weeks. Jude was 6 weeks old, was my checkup, and was very honest with her at that stage and said, I'm not well. I know I'm not well. Eamon came with me at that stage as well, because he knew I was unwell. But what I lived with for them first 6 weeks was horrendous. I was only a shell of myself, and I was only a shell of myself for the I suppose the first 2 years of Jude's life. Because yes, I was given medication, but that was all. And the medication, I feel, just numbed me. If you were able to carry on and do what you had to do to keep the child alive. You were feeding him, and he fed him and changed him, and he got whatever love and cuddles. But the fear was always there that I didn't expect this to happen. So is it going to happen again? Is something going to come back and take him?
It's always there.
Always there.
Excuse me, frog.
So then after whenever Jude was coming up to his second birthday, I was pregnant and I'm expecting my second baby. And I suppose part of me sitting thinking, sure, it'll be grand this time, we'll be okay. And in the back of my head, I'm sitting thinking, Ciara, this could happen again. The whole way through the pregnancy, I'd worried about this. They had said to me, the only thing they did say to me after Jude's was, you had horrendous birth. You know, you have a good case for a section for the next time. And then I suppose given the fact that the strep B and the antibiotics and stuff, everything will be okay. You'll get that there, no problem, whenever you go back in again. So whenever I went down for the first scan, 12 weeks, I remember saying to the consultant, and I'm a bigger girl, so I was always consultant-led. I remember saying to him, so I'll get at 12 weeks, I was getting my say in early. He was going to be well aware. I remember saying, they told me before, because of the birth and all, that I'd get offered a section this time round, and I still wasn't right following the birth of Jude. And he was all, no, you'll be grand. You should be okay. And I go, but what about the strep B? And he goes, we'll test you for the strep B, and we'll just do the same. And I was like, but you tested me before the last time, and it was negative. And then by the time he was born, it was positive, and that's why he was so unwell. And trying to explain to somebody, like, I can't go through that again. I can't, like, you weren't there in the neonatal whenever I had a child, and they were telling me this child is so unwell.
Constant worrying, just care.
I can't do it again. And then the relief, I remember them scanning me at 36 weeks, and the endo was breech. I'm thinking, oh, thank God. And he was all, you don't have to work. And I had harped on the whole way through about this section. He was like, oh, you'll not be having a section. And I was like, well, what about the antibiotics then? Will I get the antibiotics? Well, we've changed the protocol. And we'll be testing you. If you need antibiotics, you get them. If you don't need them. And I said, nobody's listening to me. I didn't need them the last time, but I did actually when it came to it.
So you're constantly fighting your own corner.
Constantly fighting, and nobody was listening. And then and I remember him turning around at 36 weeks and saying, you won't need antibiotics. He says, because this child's breech, and if he stays breech, she'll be going in for a section. So we went in, and he was lying across the way. He has, to this day, has kept his stubbornness, so it's all right. So whenever we went in, and there was a section and had him, I thought, this is okay. Like, I can deal with the pain. We can manage this. And he ended up having to have the antibiotics anyway because he wouldn't keep his temperature up. So there must be something in them. It must be something to do with the boys and the ones that couldn't keep her temperature up. No, he didn't. It wasn't. He had no strep B or he had to get treatment as well, but was kept with me. He didn't have to go to neonatal.
It wasn't so bad, but the trauma is still there.
The trauma was still there.
So then, at what point did you address that trauma? How did that?
Whenever I would have attended Sure Start through Jude's first year. I would have attended Sure Start in Castlereagh, and I'm a stranger to this area because I'm not originally from here. So I was making new friends and meeting new people, and it was the wee health visitor in Sure Start, Bridge McLaughlin, and Bridge didn't know me from anybody else, but knew there was something not well with Ciara. And she slipped a wee pink card into my back pocket, and the pink card was Support Together.
Right, okay.
And she had said, that's a group of ladies in Oma, and maybe think about having a conversation with them. And I held on to that card for a good 18 months before I had the courage to reach out.
And what kept you back from reaching out? What was wrong? What was it in your head?
I felt that if I had reached out, that I was admitting that I was a bad mummy. I wasn't capable of doing what I was putting this earth to do in my head, and the shame of being unwell. And like nobody, Belle, whenever I was unwell, nobody knew I was unwell. Only me, my husband, and my doctor. not even my mother, my father, my brothers and sisters. It was literally me and Eamon because I didn't want nobody else to know. I'm sure people probably thought um, had lost a lot of weight. God, she's doing well. And Jude was always dressed to perfection. If he was wearing orange clothes, he had an orange dummy. If he was wearing green clothes, he had green dummy. Everything was. But that was me trying to have control because I felt that I had no control otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, trying to, in my head, there was expectations of me as a mommy and a parent, and I wasn't living up to them.
And looking back, if you had to change anything, if you could change anything looking back, is there anything you wished you had have done or not?
Well, I made the changes for pregnancy number 3, and I had a totally different experience, thank God. And the changes that I made was I lowered my expectations, and that was through the help of Support Together. I had myself educated going in to the pregnancy and to the birth and the aftermath, and I was able to have my voice and speak. I asked the questions. Well, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
So explain to me what you're doing. I was able to be. I wasn't a waddling duck for Orla's, and Orla was a surprise pregnancy. I thought, what an under God am I going to do? But surprise pregnancy. But it was Orla's pregnancy and labour and birth that I found my strength.
Mm-hmm. Thanks to Support Together.
Thanks to Support Together. And I also at that stage I'd went through 2 very tough years after Enda's birth. Enda's birth was no problem, but it was the aftermath and it was a postnatal, and I was still carrying the postnatal from the miscarriage, never mind Jude and the whole lot. But it was in that 2 years I did a lot of work on myself, realised that actually reaching out and asking for help is necessary.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do it alone. And Eamon wasn't educated enough to do it either. We were going in blind, thinking you had to keep it quiet, afraid to speak out and say, actually, I'm not coping here, because in my head and in Eamon's head, they're going to come take this child away.
And that's a common thing that has come out in all conversations. Mm-hmm. Afraid to say I'm not okay in the neonatal unit in case they're seen to be not coping, can't get them home.
Yeah,
can't cope. Social
like all you want,
and, and we've been talking to social workers and we've clarified this, but that is definitely in new parents' heads.
Like all you want whenever you're a neonatal is to get home, and you'll put on whatever mask you have to put on to be able to get that child home. You think it'll be grand when I get home. She'll be grand. She'll get. I just need some sleep, but actually no. I carried that home and postnatal, unpacked in my house, and she lived there for a long time, but with the help and support. Thank God my experience with Orla was a complete 360 turn.
And what would you say now, Ciara, from the bottom of your heart to somebody in neonatal going through this experience right now, or through miscarriage or any of those experiences? What would you say to those parents right now?
So much that I could say. You're not alone. Don't be afraid to reach out for help. A listening ear. It means a lot. It's not going to be here forever. That time was my enemy, and I thought that this was going to be me forever. I was always going to feel like this, and with help and support, I didn't. It's not your forever, and don't be afraid to reach out.
And we don't have all the answers.
No, we don't.
No. So be open and ask for help, and don't be afraid.
There's no shame in asking for help. It's a strength. I've learned now that's a strength.
Yes, it is.
Being able to ask for help is a strength. Like, whenever everybody always asks about the child. Nobody ever asks about the mummy. So I would always, yes, you address the child and how's wee Jimmy, but I would always say, and how's mummy, because it's mummy that I felt I wasn't seen. And you need to be, the mother needs to be well.
Yeah.
So I would always make a point of the mummy.
Yeah, and like the baby has been looked after by the medical team. I know mummy is looked after by the postnatal team, but she's gone down into that unit, walking in, the sights, the sounds, the smells, oh my God, and it's just terrifying for new parents walking in there to deal with that, plus your first baby. Plus, it's not natural to have to nurse your first baby in those circumstances anyway. So all the memories and all the, the things that you dream of, it's kind of robbed, as you say.
Yeah,
It's robbed from you. Yeah.
Them first few days, I've come to terms with that now because I can get all the cuddles I want all day long now. And Jude was well looked after when he was neonatal. But it's not the fairy tale that I was expecting.
Oh. Parents do need a wee bit of love, TLC and compassion. And I suppose that's what the book was about as well, for the parent.
Yeah.
So baby does get that attention. So thank you, Ciara, for sharing your story. Very brave.
Thank you. I thought I would have cried, but I think it was quite good.
Very strong. And we'll now move over to Una. So, Una, welcome to the podcast, and thank you very much for being here today.
Hello. How are you keeping?
Too bad.
I'm so glad this hasn't been filmed.
I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you there. Anyway, Una, can you now just tell us a wee bit about your own personal journey with your mental health challenges and what really led you to starting the Support Together organisation?
Okay, mental health challenges. I suppose I entered motherhood. I was keen to be a mama. That's what I wanted to be. First and foremost. Me and my husband had plenty of practice. You know what I mean? Trying to produce for how. And we've discovered that we couldn't. No, but this is an important part of even, I'm with my husband a long time. And when then we were serious about having a baby, the next of it, it didn't happen. I went to the doctor. What's going on? You're avoiding trying to be pregnant, and then you're trying to be pregnant. And he goes, you're with each other a long time, right? We need to look at this. My husband had a medical condition, and we didn't know maybe that was a part of it. So our doctor, because he knew the family history of my husband, it was easy to talk to. And that kind of led to him then looking, we need to maybe look at IVF, need to look at treatment, need to see, check out how everything is functioning and working. And I'm going to be really honest. You see, when I was able to hand that over, I became more relaxed because I wanted to be pregnant. Everything was like, okay, let's go. And that put pressure on the both of us. So I started to relax, and I remember getting a letter through to say that we had our first appointment. I remember I had my first missed period, and I was like, oh my word, I think I'm pregnant, And I can remember that phone call ringing and saying, look, I think, my period is 7 weeks since I've had a period. I think this is all going well. And I remember it was a fella, a gentleman on the other end of the phone, and he was lovely. And he goes, look, congratulations. Listen, come back to us, and we will look at this further. But this is brilliant news. So I was like, oh, wow. I was welcoming this with every being of me. Yeah. My background is childcare. I'm a nursery nurse. So a bit like what Ciara shared with you, everybody handed their way into me, your toddler, and I just loved children, and I wanted to be a mommy. That's, there was no goal. Now there's a plan there. It was one time 5, 6, 7 weans. Don't know where the hell I was going, but anyway, it was got to stage 1. I've been very grateful to have one. So entered into pregnancy, embraced it. I definitely had the waddle and duck syndrome, and what I was asked to do, I did. Never questioned anything. Caitlin was born on the 4th of May. Absolute gorgeous child. Swarthy skin, had black hair, just jaundice. I'm Rhesus negative. So Caitlin was jaundice. And of course, when they came and said to me she's jaundice, I thought, what's happened? What's going wrong with her? I knew what jaundice was, but when somebody's coming to say your baby is jaundice and you're going to have to stay in the hospital a wee bit longer, you kind of do a wee slight panic. Yeah. But anyway, I'm not saying labour was hunky-dory and it was marvellous and wonderful. I took the gas in there, and whatever they give me, I was taking.
Well, Well, when Caitlin was jaundiced, was she put in an incubator or anything? Did
No.
you get phototherapy or anything?
No, what they done was they put her in the wee cot, and because my bed was up beside a window, they positioned Caitlin up beside the window.
Okay.
And you know, you're just looking in at her, and you've seen this is me and my husband, and I remember him saying, like, he was holding her, and he goes, "What am I meant to feeling? This is just." Whoa! Like this is ours. This has actually happened, and that is a real surreal moment. And like we took Caitlin home, and that was scary, you know. And I think we hear that from a lot of our mummies and daddies. Listen, they're part of this too, part of this journey. I was fortunate Michael was, and like we were going down the motorway, and he was driving fucking 40 mile an hour down the motorway. You know, he was really going to cause an accident.
So careful.
Yeah, because this was our precious cargo coming home. Brought Bobby home, and family were there to meet us, because a lot of the family, Michael's ones, couldn't get up due to the fact of, I know at that time I felt very overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I was overwhelmed in a sense of, I was never in the hospital before, and I was 33 years of age.
That's a huge experience.
I never mind going through the birth.
Having a baby.
Exactly. And then the realization that I'm in charge. This is somebody that we are responsible for. So probably when I look back at Una, then I was very in tune of, this is big. You know, this is not just bringing a puppy home is big enough. Do you know what I mean? Buying a new house, a car, getting married, all of them are big, but this was like
3 human that you made.
You know, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was precious. And with my childcare background, you know, babies and children are precious, and they were in my care, so you're making sure you were looking after them.
Yeah.
So you were straight into look after mode, but not look after. I did no way think of me at all, you know.
And when did that go wrong?
Right, so took Caitlin home, terrified of her, you know, she's now wanted to get her home, but then when she's home, oh Jesus, I wouldn't mind half of them nurses here and with me, the midwives, you know, that was the terrifying
Feeling
moment.
Being left on your own, it's you.
Yeah,
you are
trying to
responsible.
breastfeed, because that's what I was going to do. Yeah, there wasn't a bottle bought, there wasn't a formula bought. I was breastfeeding, because breast is best. You know, and this is what I believed.
Yes. You're trying to do the best for this.
Trying to do the best. I had the cot. I remember putting Caitlin in the cot, and the size of the fucking cot, like, compared to her. All of that, but not sleeping. And then not being able to, I could express the cows come home literally, right? But she wasn't latching on correctly. So it became immensely uncomfortable for me. And she wasn't getting fed correctly. So I can remember that time saying till my mum blocked ducts, I was starting to feel the pain of that. I didn't have a clue what was wrong. So the cabbage had to be bought.
Yes.
I remember lying in the bed. My temperature was up through the roof. Michael didn't know what was going on. And I can remember feeling fear, absolute fear. I'm not able to feed this baby. And then there was the guilt. You know, the guilt started coming, definitely. Poking and knocking and giving me...
because you push yourself so hard, and you think that if you don't do one of these wee things, you're letting them down.
Massively. And mum then, Michael contacted my mum when they went into Boots to get all that they needed to get, because I had nothing in the house. So I'd say that's when it started creeping in. There was no doubt about it. My personality, I'm a very caring individual. I have good emotional intelligence. I think a lot of other people, I probably am a bit of a radiator. People navigate to you. But I'm going back to that young girl, you know, that young person that I was. I didn't see me. The time I should have seen me the most is when you're in motherhood. So I landed in the hood. That's what I talk to a lot of our mummies about.
What age were you in?
About 33.
33.
So suppose it was an old nut when you think of it for me first, you know. But I mean, me and Michael lived our life. You know, I was with my husband a good while. Yeah. We bought our house. We'd done a bit of travelling, and then we were ready for that. I've no regrets in that way. Yeah. But never thought of me and that mommy hat that I was going to be putting on and what that would have done to me.
Yeah.
I just went into automatic pilot. So I can remember scheduling Caitlin's sleep, writing everything down, because that's what I was trained to do. You know, you recorded everything with people's children. You're making sure that they're, you know, they were fed and any of this. They were watered. They were, even when you played with them. So it did get a bit, it started very early with me. It was anxiety. Anxiety creeped in. I didn't bother sleeping because what was the point? The baby needs me. Michael was very, you know, I'll get up in the middle of the night, we'll take turns about, but sure, I end up meeting him on the hallway, the lantern, you know, because he wasn't doing it right. I was so paranoid and so worried. My antennae was up. Everything was danger because I was afraid of maybe him rolling over and suffocating Caitlin. Them intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, it took over.
There was the anxiety coming. So it started to take over me. And not long after that, depression hit in. This is very early stage. So the spin and what my thoughts, feeling, and probably that OCD was going on. And I approached the doctor. Now, I'm not a person that took tablets. I was not a person that was at the doctor. My husband would have been.
Yes.
Because of his medical condition. But because of how his doctor was to him and how much he felt safe, I think that's how I approached the doctor such an early stage. I mean, Caitlin was Caitlin even a month or two old? Like, I mean, early, you know. So I was aware this isn't.
So you recognised these symptoms as not being safe. Normal.
Well, I wasn't enjoying motherhood. I was in the hood. I was terrified. There was love for Caitlin. There's no doubt about it. But it freaking nearly destroyed me because everything was a threat. You know, it didn't go outside because I was afraid to go out.
Yeah.
You weren't really wanting people in the house. So when I sit back and look at Una then, you know, could I have ended up becoming psychotic?
Yeah.
Do you know, could that have been down the line? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But me going and speaking about it and reaching into my doctor.
On time.
And the reason I was able to do that and the reason why I'm so passionate about what we do and support together is there was a seed planted to me when I worked in a job that I was in. Our health visitor came in. I worked in a Sure Start. My boss at that time says we're going to do a talk about postnatal depression. I wasn't married at this stage. I hadn't got kids. And I never even heard about it. Now, I've told you, I'm a nursery nurse. That was my background. We always heard about the child's emotional well-being. Nobody was talking about the mama and the daddy. You know, so I remember sitting there going, such thing. Now, she did a half an hour talk. I got married. I had my beautiful daughter, Caitlin, and that half an hour talk stayed with me.
Yeah, you resonated.
So that was that seed of education, and there's why I know that's why I went to the doctor early. Did I want to go? No, but I knew my baby needed a well mommy.
Yeah.
And I needed to make time for my well-being because I would have end up being forced to make time for my illness.
Yeah. And you also would be aware of the consequences of not by going to that talk, you know, by your experiences.
Yeah, but she didn't go into real big detail. You know, she talked about postnatal depression and what it is, and suppose the stats and stuff and the signs and symptoms. So I was having these signs and symptoms, but that was the only time I ever heard about it.
Yeah.
You know, and any time you hear anything or see anything as in TV is the worst case scenario that a mummy she becomes psychotic. Like, that's real. You know, that she was having the baby in her arms and maybe going to jump off a bridge because she felt somebody was coming after them. They were the big stories, but I never heard the story that I was living ever shown out anywhere or ever talked anywhere.
Yeah.
But because of that relationship with the doctor. But I remember coming home and the doctor saying to me when I went up to him, Una, if you're not well, the house is not well. No, but I remember how I felt then. I thought, oh, thanks very much. Put more pressure on me. But the well Una now knows what he was saying is, you're important, Una. Yeah. Your well-being is important. So I was able to go back home and I discussed it with my husband. I have. And he goes, never heard of it. Then there's where Support Together grew, unknowns to me, because then My sister knew something was wrong with my mommy did, but nobody knew.
Mm-hmm.
The lights were on with me, but there was nobody home.
But you did get help at that point then,
I did.
and very quickly and easily.
And if I did easily, I wouldn't say easily. I think it's a lot to do with my personality, and sometimes that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think because we've experienced the family doctor and how good he was with my husband and how proactive he was even when we thought we couldn't have a baby. That, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a lot of other factors that include.
But when you ask for it, when you ask for the help, it's like what I'm saying is when you ask the GP for the help was there. Is that, or was it not?
Well, the help was, and
Yeah.
he was able to explain to me what this looked like, why maybe that I'm having this, and the hormones, and talk then about the antidepressants, which I was like, wow, no, I'm not taking them. But when he spoke about it,
Yeah.
I thought, right, well, this
Explained it to you.
but that's not always really available for every. Not every woman has that experience.
No.
So, but there's where it came from, where Brenda then goes, "You have what? I never heard of that."
Brenda's your sister.
Brenda's my sister, my younger sister.
Mhm.
She's 6 years younger than me. I was the first to bring a niece, nephew, or grandchild into the home.
family.
So, so they were all doting over Caitlin, but I watched them hold her. Nobody could do anything right.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, geez, when I think of it, like I was, yeah, but it was the early stages. So
then support together. How was support together born?
well, there's how it was born. It was born through my gorgeous daughter, Caitlin Mary Leonard. It was born through the lived experience and that conversation from one sister to the other, going, what? You have what, Una? I've never heard of this. Now, if this is an illness, you know, why is there not enough education in this? And this is where I would say this is where me and her are a bit like, is that injustice? Is that like, oh, here, what? She says, but if you're going through this, does people out there know this exists? Are people suffering in silence? Like, my God, this is unacceptable. So there's where it grew. She took the passion at the beginning, that injustice. It's in me and her. We're very community driven. And she was like, thinking, hell, we need to do something about this. So there's where it grew very early on. Now, I couldn't take the torch at that point, you know.
Yeah.
Because I was still recovering, I was still unwell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I needed to allow time for my
Yeah, for
treatment
that.
and for me to try to understand how I was feeling so then I could communicate better.
Mhm.
So there's where support together, it kind of came from one sister suffered and the other supported.
Yeah. Very good.
Kitchen around the kitchen table, wasn't it?
Really and truly, there's where we're looking at the name. Now, I know, and it's something that we haven't done yet and we've planned to do, is even interview Brenda, because Brenda was more present then than I was, because I
Yeah.
was to say, I was still unwell.
Yeah.
But, you know, we knew we wanted to create our own logo. The sunflower was something that, how long? Like, you can't stop, you know, you have to. If a sunflower isn't your flower, you'll still smile at it. It makes
Yeah.
you smile. The strength that that flower has from its stem up. The seeds,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what it's all about, the reconditioning and and there's where it grew from, and we realised it takes two, support two. That's why I cringe when people do a TO. You do not do a TO in our name. It's a number two, because a number two is vital. It takes two.
Two.
It takes two to start that conversation. And there's where it grew from.
Very good. And I suppose now addressing you both, Ciara and Una both, what services and supports then do you provide, you know, for families, and how do families get in touch? How do families reach out? Is it a referable process? You know, how do people find you if they're going through something like this right now?
Right. Well, I suppose at the minute we are funded, and I think that's important. We can't do what we do without funding. By us being funded, we are then able to provide a service. So the funding that we have at the minute is the Oman Fermanagh district area is where we're funded. That's why I'm employed now as a project manager, and Ciara's the admin and finance coordinator. So for people to contact us, we believe, and Ciara, you can either nay or hey here, but and that mummies self-refer.
Yeah.
Because that's a mummy back to that stage is taking control back in her life, because there's one sure thing: the illness takes away your control, and you feel very unbalanced. So we would encourage people to self-refer. Excuse me, I'm going to get the frog out of my throat.
It's doing the rounds.
It's doing its rounds. And that can be through ringing into the office, through Facebook Messenger, because we're finding more people find it easier to write a message.
Yeah.
Or email.
Would
or
you have
email.
a lot of parents who went through the neonatal experience contacting you?
We do, yeah.
Very, very much so. And you know, their story, you know, they often are in fight or flight mode, and then when baby is brought home,
As
like
Ciara
they go into
said.
complete flop.
Yeah.
And then they're afraid of sharing how they're feeling with their family, their friends, because they think people go, "Sure, aren't you so lucky? The baby's home now. Aren't you so lucky?" And they're going, "Yeah, but they've been trying to hold all together."
Yeah.
And then when baby comes home, there's where the terrifying thing is. They don't have the machines there anymore. They don't have the
support behind
nurses,
them, yeah.
the
Support
support.
network.
They feel so alone. So we're fighting that coming through our doors a lot
A lot.
Yeah.
as mummies, and that's from us supporting a mummy way back at the beginning, who came through. The baby came through the neonatal.
Yeah, we've had a few that have had very early babies through neonatal, haven't we?
Very much so.
Yeah. And all the mummies have went through their neonatal journey and then come through found the strength and come through Support Together and their postnatal journey. And went on to have more children after that there, and had a better experience. But it's definitely a trait that we find is coming through, that it's nearly like if they speak up and say, "I'm struggling," it's like they're ungrateful.
Yeah.
Exactly. But how could it, and how could you not be struggling? I think we have to look at this
It's
realistically.
normalising that
Hold
it's a
normalising.
on.
struggle.
Mercy God, you know, it is and if we don't talk about our emotions, it turns into symptoms.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Like how, you know, and like we've had mummies then that go in that word of mouth, you know, a mummy will go away and say, "Well, I reached into Support Together," and they understood, because, you know, we look at the emotions, it's a transitional journey. Motherhood, we want people to land in motherhood, not staying too long in the hood.
I think it's very sad that we're finding mummies are coming to us because they feel that we'll understand. Yes, we have empathy and we understand because we've been through it. But everybody in the country, no, the person on the street should understand that you
Yeah,
don't,
everybody.
that yes, you've been through a traumatic experience. Your child has been unwell and been in neonatal, and now you've got it home. Of course, you're going to feel overwhelmed, anxiety, worry, and fear.
And it stays.
Yes.
Yes,
It stays with you. And that's
should.
normal.
Yeah,
you know.
the hat shouldn't be just with Support Together that they understand. Everybody should.
Yeah. And like leading on then, what impact would you have seen within the community that you've made as an organisation? Have you seen a real...
We know we've saved lives, and I'll take that. I will take that, and I'll shout that from the rooftops.
Well, because
It's
you're an
really good.
example of
Yes,
that.
I
But
am.
also, there's mummies and dads going away and wanting to go on and try their best to have another child, as they often would have said, without Support Together
They wouldn't
in their
have
life,
done.
they wouldn't have.
Mhm.
And also, too, I think, you know, how long people can become addictive, drugs, drink, whatever. We're ones have shared that I could have turned to the bottle, Una.
Yeah.
So we have to think of
Yeah.
that impact, and
Yeah.
that's one honest conversation at a time.
Yeah.
You know, and breaking down the stigma, breaking down the shame. And we have to also, I mean, how could a mother and father, the family unit, not be terrified after the neonatal experience? I didn't experience neonatal, right? But I have massive empathy and how, so never mind, like, how could I not be terrified after having a baby and bringing a baby? These emotions, we are human, we're not robotic. We should be able to speak about our emotions.
And I suppose, again, it's about reaching out and reaching in.
Yes,
Both sides.
Massively.
I suppose one thing there, just I know you had mentioned, what do we do? We do have support, and we Support Together is kind of like two prongs. So we do education and support. We would actually do a lot of education for professionals.
Yes.
We've held conferences, we've trained staff, and we've educated them, I suppose, in a different language and how to speak to mummies and speak to parents. Education's a massive part
Yeah.
of the understanding.
Yeah.
So that's as we're educating parents and educating the mummies and the members coming through our doors, and that education then seeps through to partners, to aunties and uncles, grannies and granddads, seeps through. If I think even my children, seeps down into the children for like that's future generations. We're getting in early intervention,
Yeah.
but I suppose the education's there as well for the professional side. That's a massive part of
Yeah,
support
and
together
that's
as well.
needed.
One
That
can't go
is.
without the other.
No,
And it is
really
sharing
needed.
stories,
Yeah.
but also sharing hope.
Yeah.
You know, we are an
Providing hope.
example of hope.
Yeah.
You know, me and Ciara have only give the gist of our story. But I didn't want to be unwell. I wanted to be a well mommy. Wellness, you know, that doesn't come to your door often. Exactly, you said reach out and reach in.
as
Yeah.
well.
And that is, there should be more of what we're doing out there. It should be,
even the nurses and the units, you know,
Mhm.
reach into them, reach
Mhm.
into the parents more.
We would always find a mummy would say, you know, they'll pass comments, sure, let me know if you need anything. Reaching out is very, very hard.
very hard. The phone's very heavy.
The phone can be very
Yeah.
heavy, but
Uh-huh.
it's just as well, and that's why I always say to you, I'd always ask the mummy, and if we ask how are you, I'm grand, and it's asked twice, is that a good grand or a bad
Yeah.
grand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like support together, what we do often different than what other places do is we hold the mommy as she holds her baby.
Yeah.
And when mommy is able to talk about how she's feeling and able to connect to her emotions and realize I'm not a monster, you know, and she then will flourish. She will.
Yeah.
But we have to allow her that time and that space to be able to do that. Like we're working with a mommy at the minute, and she had a baby in neonatal. She was right in the middle of all of that.
Yeah.
She approached to us very early because of recommendation from a
Yeah.
friend. And at the moment, we're building her toolkit of understanding. As I said to you, I didn't go through neonatal.
Yeah.
You don't need to be going through it, but it's about providing that space and meeting someone where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
And-
perinatal journey as well.
It's
Like, it
massive.
affects so many.
It's sure
Probably
here's up
everybody.
and down, and
Yeah.
I mean, people would have looked at me and thought I was, oh, sure, it'll be no bother to you. Do you hear that sentence? Like that sentence does rattle me. No bother to you.
Presumption.
You should never meet somebody as their profession. You know, we've worked with so many professional people. Most mommies we're
That's a
working
fair
with, and I'm
point.
going to be honest, are
Yes.
just they're from the
NHS staff,
NHS staff,
from
Most
nurses to social workers
Right.
to
all of that, okay, and they're met by people assuming that they should know because they're trained. No. It's first time they're born as mommy, baby 1, baby 2, baby 3. It's their first experience. You can't bring your profession in to your personal.
You're an individual.
You are an
Human
individual, and each experience is different.
Yeah.
bespoke.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose finally, because we could talk here to the
You could
cows
talk
come.
forever, I know.
Maybe you'll
We
come
could grow a
back again.
beard. We could be here forever.
So you recently won the Making a Difference Award.
Just as we did.
What did that recognition mean for the organisation?
Oh, here. Because we were nominated by one of our mummies, that was just like wow. And she shared her story. And then it was just what I am not great at shouting about the great stuff we do. I'm a doer. I'm down in the roots and the grass and the dirt with the mummies. But when you get a mummy shouting, and like Ciara grabbed that opportunity too, and she goes, "No, here, come on," you know. And it was massive. We were on the radio and everything. It was terrifying.
You're on the
I
TV
was-
as well,
I know,
I'm
we've
sorry,
seen
the TV and the news
every
like,
day.
Like seriously,
and it wasn't wanted.
you know, I was like,
It is fantastic.
but people got to see who we are, and we
Yeah.
are a colourful charity. We are unique and different, and we're bloody proud of that.
Yeah.
So I suppose, Ciara,
Come on from a mummy
Mummy.
and she came from a place of pride, not shame.
sure, here, there.
Like that's what
Yeah.
Zara did. And like we're breaking down the stigma and the shame of postnatal depression one conversation at a time.
and postnatal anxiety. Hello, I have to understand there's antenatal depression and anxiety too. You know, that doesn't be talked enough about.
Yeah.
Not everybody loves being pregnant.
No,
And
there's
then
so many conversations, I think,
so many.
that join it all up. We've got our miscarriages.
Yeah.
Of
We've got
course.
our neonatal experiences, postnatal, antenatal. We've got our neonatal losses. We've got
Yes.
all of those experiences we need to talk about.
But never mind what the
Share
woman's taken in as a
support.
woman.
Yeah,
What has she went through before she became a
Exactly.
mommy?
exactly.
And then exposed in these wards and
Yes.
the language and things they say.
Yeah.
So I totally with you. I mean, jeekers, but I wanted to change the world now, I'll be honest with you. You know what would be on me now. I had to settle out
She's not
back
done yet either.
and go, I only can do it, one conversation at a time, plant a seed, and it'll be a ripple effect.
Well, I
And
can certainly see the seed growing.
Oh
anyway,
yeah, plant the
definitely.
seed, watch it grow.
so
see
the
it grow.
ward was, it was amazing, and the BBC were out filming us, and the mummies were so proud of being a part of it.
Brilliant.
Like, people are happy to wear our t-shirts.
Yes.
People are happy to walk around with Support Together, and
Yeah.
people ask, what's that? Who you involved? Oh, that's the charity I'm involved with. I've had antenatal and postnatal depression. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
that's brilliant.
Look at the...
Yeah.
So make
You're
a
making a
difference.
real
We
difference.
are
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
a difference.
So, Ciara and Una, thank you both for sharing your
No
experiences
problem, Pat.
and for the
Thank you.
incredible work that you continue to do through Support Together.
Thank you.
Your honesty, bravery, and compassion reminds us how powerful community support can be during some of life's most vulnerable moments.
Yeah.
I think what's important here is remembering that you don't have to have all the answers and you don't have to do this alone. It is a journey, one day at a time. So if this episode has resonated with anybody, please consider subscribing to Nicu&You wherever you listen to podcasts. Leaving a review or sharing the episode really helps these conversations reach to people who need them most. You'll also find links in the show notes if you'd like more support or information. And a final thank you to our guests today, Ciara and Una, and to Salento and Meritcom for supporting this episode and helping make these conversations possible. And to everyone listening, thank you for trusting us with your time and your story. Whatever stage you're at, remember, you're not alone. It's a journey. Take it one day at a time, and shared experiences really do matter. This has been Nicu&You with Belle Stevenson. Until the next time, take care.
And also, don't forget about our Fill Your Cup of podcasts. You can upload and download it anywhere you want it.
Good woman, Una.
Oh, we need to get that on now.
That was so funny.
Recorded at and produced by 9874 Creative.